Search. We'll have those details.
Winter storm is on the way. We not only have advisories, but also we're going to break down just how much snow we're going to see from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, while many schools in the area have once again temporarily shut down due to COVID-19 concerns, we'll tell you about one school that's keeping its doors open.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Coffeyville police discover human remains at a residence on West 3rd Street. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. The Coffeyville Police Department and the Kansas State Fire Marshal's Office executed a search warrant at 304 West 3rd Street concerning a missing persons report. Based on the condition of the remains, the identity could not be determined. Anyone with information should call the Coffeyville Police Department. We'll have that information on our website. A Nevada, Missouri business owner admits failing to pay taxes on nearly $1.5 million of income. The 53-year-old Kevin Morrow pleads guilty to filing a false tax return. Morrow omitted nearly $1.5 million in income from the federal income tax returns he filed from 2014 through 2016. During that time, Morrow operated Morrow Show Steers, a cattle sale business. Under federal statutes, Morrow could get up to 3 years in federal prison without parole. Police in Pittsburgh and the Crawford County Sheriff's Office worked together to arrest a Pittsburgh man who led officers on a chase. Authorities say officers spotted 27-year-old Sage Sprague in a car on East 21st Street and knew he had multiple outstanding warrants. When officers tried to pull the car over, the car sped away. The chase went through the Pittsburgh area, then left the city, which is when a sheriff's deputy joined in, then went back to Pittsburgh before Sprague's car hit the deputy vehicle. The chase stopped a short time later and authorities arrested Sprague. The Parsons, Kansas Police Department is making changes to its protocols for the next month. When it comes to cold calls and crimes against property without evidence, officers will now take those reports over the phone when possible rather than in person. Also, VIN inspections and fingerprinting for licensing are suspended for the next 30 days. Officials say the changes are a result of rising COVID cases within the department. Missouri Southern is temporarily changing its masking guidance. The university is requiring masks be worn in classrooms, meetings, where social distancing is not possible, the Wilcoxon Health Center, and the Lion Club Academy. Everywhere else, the school says masking is optional. Officials say the changes are due to a rise in area COVID cases. No word on how long the new guidance will last. The Joplin School District becomes the latest to cancel classes for today. The district sent out messages to parents yesterday letting them know classes are canceled for today so crews can deep clean the buildings. Officials say classes will be made up on May 25th. Now let's check in with Michael for a first look at the forecast.
Bronte, we've been talking for the past 4 days about this impending winter storm, and yet here we sit at the noon hour, and our temperature is still 10 degrees above normal for the middle of January. So still a great looking afternoon. As we sit anywhere from about 49 to 55, it's just a couple minutes past the noon hour, but this is the one that we're all concerned with, and not just us. This thing's going to press into the deep southern portion of the United States as well, and that is why we've got some warnings, watches, and advisories out and about. Now, as far as the role that it will play in our weather, really won't turn into anything severe until we get into Saturday morning. But with that being said, the purple indicates that winter weather advisory. The white counties that you see through northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas, kind of a combo. Not only winter weather advisories, but also wind warnings. So we're going to have some blowing snow with that by the time we get into Saturday morning. As it progresses from west to east, almost stalls out there over southwest Missouri and then backs down from north to south. And that's why the majority of our accumulation will be in our eastern counties in a 7-day forecast where we're going to have to talk about some freezing temps reemerging from Saturday into Sunday. Coming up here in just a little bit, Bronte, we'll talk about those accumulation numbers and also, too, why we need to be prepared not only for Saturday morning, but Sunday morning as well.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Thanks, Michael. As schools across the area continue to shut down due to staffing shortages, some remain open. The Carl Junction School District is among the few still holding in-person classes. Superintendent Dr. Phil Cook says the district looks at a number of factors in determining whether to close. Right now, Cook says the district has enough staff and attendance numbers still look good.
I hope that they have some trust in us and that we have a track record of making decisions based upon, like I said, common sense, what's good for our kids and what's good for our community's safety.
Carl Junction is holding classes today. Other districts that have canceled say they plan to return to class on Tuesday following the upcoming holiday on Monday. People in Joplin had a chance to responsibly enjoy a beer and adopt a pet for free. The Chaos Brewing Company on South Main Street called the event Bark Brew. Chaos invited some pets from the Joplin Humane Society, covered the $10 adoption fee, and also offered a free beer.
An opportunity to interact with the animals in a way that they otherwise wouldn't. They can come here, they might feel more comfortable coming to a bar to meet someone. That's something people do apparently, versus having to make an appointment or take the time out of your day to go out to the Humane Society. So instead of having to make that trip, you can just come here on your way home and maybe meet someone who you're going to fall in love with.
The Joplin Humane Society always reminds people to think before they adopt and make sure they have resources for taking care of a pet long term. Now topping Nation Watch, the Supreme Court has stopped the Biden administration from enforcing a requirement that employees at large businesses be vaccinated against COVID-19 or undergo weekly testing. This as Omicron pushes hospitals and schools to the brink in many states. Michael George reports from New York.
President Biden is dealing with a major setback in the fight against COVID-19 after the Supreme Court blocked his sweeping rule requiring workers at large companies to either get vaccinated or get routinely tested.
We're going to have to determine what the next steps are. The president's view is we're going to keep pushing for hard things.
In a 6-3 decision, the court's conservative majority wrote that the OSHA rule is, quote, a significant encroachment into the lives and health of a vast number of employees, adding that COVID is, quote, not an occupational hazard in most businesses.
To me, the mandate was a massive overreach by the government.
At the same time, the High Court did uphold a new federal rule requiring vaccinations in many medical settings. The U.S. continues to face record hospitalizations fueled by the Omicron variant.
Just last week, we dropped off 40 cots to 4 different local hospitals because they said they didn't have enough beds.
Here in New York City, Mayor Eric Adams is considering a temporary remote learning option for public school students, many of whom are already staying at home during the pandemic. On Thursday, school attendance numbers in New York City were at 77%, with one school as low as 44%. In Philadelphia, more than 100 schools have switched to virtual learning, with staff sickened or quarantining because of COVID-19.
Since all this stuff is going around, I would rather go to Zoom because I don't want to get sick.
In Chicago, the nation's third largest school district, some parents are now considering transferring their children from public to Catholic schools, frustrated by recent standoffs between the city's teachers union over COVID safety protocols. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Beginning tomorrow, insurance companies will begin reimbursing for the cost of COVID tests. The White House says it has already procured about 380,000 COVID tests to be distributed for free to Americans across the country. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at Noon.
How finding the beat could improve your health. I'm Tina Kraus with the benefits of taiko drumming.
The art of Japanese drumming, known as taiko, is finding its rhythm around the world, and teachers are touting its health benefits. CBS's Tina Kraus reports from London.
The sounds coming from this school in Australia are drumming up confidence for students with disabilities.
It's an honor to watch them play and see them just evolve.
Shantae Glidden says the unique art of taiko drumming is tricky, but makes her feel alive.
It is a bit of a workout for me because I'm still trying to figure out the rhythm and relaxing my wrists.
Well-being studies suggest a daily dose of drumming can reduce blood pressure and improve brain function. And research shows group drumming can give a powerful mental health boost.
For weeks after, we have students coming up to us saying, wow, you were awesome on stage, you were great, and it just builds their confidence.
Nicholas Moutsatsos admits he still has some stage fright.
I sometimes get a bit nervous to do that.
But says the rhythm of taiko gets him in sync with others, and it's a feeling that can't be beat. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
Taiko drumming classes are growing in popularity across the U.S., and health experts say it's a good cardio workout, as it works your joints and builds endurance. Still to come on KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
As another week wraps up, it's time to start thinking about all that we need to get done this weekend. Maybe you can finally take down the last of the holiday decorations or even start working on your...
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
We'll eventually close out the old KOAM News at Noon talking about the impending snow and also freezing cold temperatures. So why don't we just take just a couple of seconds here and reflect on what a spoiled week that we have. If you go back to Monday where we started at 47 right there, our average weekly high for Monday through Friday right now, and that takes into account our 53, when we may bump up a couple degrees above that. Look at that, 54.6 degrees, a good 10 degrees above where we'd normally be for the middle of January. And now we know that Mother Nature has an eerie way of evening things out. Number one, she's going to do that by giving us some snow from that large storm that has now squarely made its way off the Canadian border, pushing through the northern plains, and in fact, almost making its way into portions of central Missouri. We'll talk about that rain that we see here in just a little bit, but the key factor is, even though it's got a little southeasterly movement to it, still has enough on the backside of it to the west that we're certainly going to see fair amounts of accumulation. Also, too, just updated the storm reports. They're already looking at 5 to 6 inches in the upper plains, so luckily we won't have to worry about anything of that type of accumulation. Live look over 7th and Rangeline. Still very, very nice for this time of year. 53 degrees is where we stand. That humidity has really bumped up. The past couple of days we've been talking about it being down to about 25–30% when we do the KOAM News at Noon, but there we are, squarely at 50% on the increase, and the barometer, falling. We know what that means. We know that action is on the way. Temperatures right now ranging from about, say 49 to 55, so very delightful outside. Now, we look at the radar here and we go, oh, wait a second, in my neck of the woods, in my backyard, not necessarily coming down as rain would indicate right now. Well, that's where we turn on the sweeping radar, because you get to this time of year, that humidity can make the radar a little bit finicky. And whenever we see the blue, a lot of that's not even been able to come down. Reached out to some people that I know out in the Chanute area. They are seeing some light sprinkles every now and then. That's all it equivocates to. But I just wanted to kind of go back and take a look at this, because on a summer day, you know, where we're able to pick that up a little bit better, that air's not so thick and whatnot, it reads differently than what it does this time of year. And so that's where that sweeping radar really comes into effect and helps us out. These don't change. These are consistent. The color-coded counties indicating winter weather advisories for everybody in the purple. Now, as we drip into northeast Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas, you see the white. That's because it's a combo of advisories. It's not only the winter weather advisory, but also a wind advisory for today into tomorrow, meaning that any snow that we see that comes down here, especially for that northwest Arkansas region, that's going to be some blowing snow. That's really going to decrease visibility. This just off color that you see right along the state line right there, that's just an increase from a winter weather advisory all the way to a winter storm watch. Now these, as far as the storm goes, the winter storm goes, they drop down here to about Memphis, make their way through Georgia, and then reemerge up to the northeastern portion. Everything down here to the south, that's going to deal with high winds and warmer temperatures for them, because big changes in the jet stream. We're now making an L shape. This thing's going to be able to fall down about right here, and it's just going to ride everything to the mid-Atlantic before it comes right back up. So our afternoon planner, not a whole lot of action. We know we're seeing just some light rain every now and then, but now we really pick up as we get closer to midnight. Late tonight, we start to see the snow formulate to the northwest, carries us through the early morning hours. Try to get in early tonight. No late night Friday plans, please, because those roads, they are going to be a little slick despite how warm our ground has been. They're still going to have some minor travel concerns. And look at this, lasting all the way into Saturday afternoon, to the point where eastern portion of southwest Missouri, central part, that's where we're going to see the most, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches. Get down here, these elevated areas of the Ozarks, northwest Arkansas, that's going to pick up anywhere from 4 to 5 inches. Now watch this, Bronte. Watch how deep this thing pushes into the south. Then she says, you know what? I think I've seen enough. I'm going to ride the Atlantic coast. This is impressive. Like, this is one of those that is not fooling around. Then everything refreezes Saturday night into Sunday. So for those of you with Sunday morning plans, whether it be church, whether it be brunch, please know we're going to go back to frozen roads.
Okay, definitely being safe this weekend. Thanks, Michael. We take this time now to honor today's four-state hero, Tech Corporal Warren Roberts in the U.S. Army. The Joplin, Missouri native worked in the 3rd Infantry Division. He was stationed in France and Germany from 1943 to 1946. We thank you, Warren Roberts, our four-state hero. One whiff of this, and your family is going to be lining up in the kitchen. Today, Howard's whipping up a treat that doesn't just taste good, it's easy to make too. We're making streusel-topped coffee cake in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
As another week wraps up, it's time to start thinking about all that we need to get done this weekend. Maybe you can finally take down the last of the holiday decorations or even start working on your honey-do list for the new year. Well, to help you get a jump start on tomorrow morning, what do you say we whip up an easy coffee cake that's blanketed with a buttery crumb topping? We start by mixing pancake and biscuit mix with some sugar, a little baking powder, a good amount of cinnamon, and a bit of salt. Now to that, we add some milk that we've beaten with a couple of eggs, melted butter, and a little vanilla. This goes into a 9x13 baking dish and gets topped with a classic streusel topping before we pop it in the oven. Now would be a great time to grab a cup of coffee and make sure everyone's to-do list is up to date. You won't have to worry about waking up the troops, because one whiff of this and they'll be lining up at the kitchen door. Simple, yes. Quick, yes. And talk about comforting. To get the recipe for our streusel top coffee cake, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a new old-fashioned way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Now here's a look at four-state market prices.
Roll it one more time for you in case you're just joining us. It begins as rain tonight, then it flips over into snow. That snow resulting in anywhere from 2 to 4 inches to the central and eastern portion of the four states, lasting until the afternoon hours. In an extremely cold Saturday night into Sunday morning, those roads are going to refreeze. Be apprised of that for your Sunday morning plans. Now, Dow and Bronte, I tell you that. And of course, tomorrow night on CBS, we will have the Bills-Patriots, the beginning of the NFL playoffs. We can't complain. I was looking at their wind chills, about -7 by the end of the game.
Yeah, the game in Buffalo. Yeah, I think that helps the Patriots' chances a bit.
Not that you're looking ahead or anything.
I am definitely looking ahead.
All right, Dow, what do we have coming up at 5 today?
Well, the U.S. Department of Transportation announces $27 billion in funding to replace and repair bridges nationwide over the next 5 years. We're going to explain how some of that new funding could be used across all states. Plus, a new recruitment plan for Cox Health. The hospital is now looking for college and high school students to hire. And a few years ago, parents had to wait to get their kids into Head Start programs, but now Economic Security says many Head Start facilities are struggling to fill seats. Hope you'll join us at 5.
Join us for those stories and more, and thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.
So